Hey guys, Down Phoenix here. Just taking a little break from working out because I wanted to talk about something in particular. I'm out here on the gym floor right now, or whatever, it's like a classroom kind of thing, But anyways, I want to talk about like one of the announcements at E3, which, I don't know, nobody on my channel probably would care, I guess, but EA apparently is now the UFC video game maker, which I find that pretty laughable for a couple of reasons. One, EA made a MMA game like about 2 years back or so, EA Sports MMA, and it had crappy gameplay and didn't have like any of the big names. I mean, it had some big names, but not like most of them. Like the THQ UFC game, which even though it got kind of bad reviews in comparison to the first one that they did, it still got better reviews than the EA one. And believe it or not, there's actually people out there that like the EA Sports MMA. I have no idea why. I played the demo of that. It was just a straight button masher. You can watch Stan Birdman's review of the game. He explains why it's bad. He's a big UFC guy, so I totally trust him on it, and I didn't think it was fun either. The UFC game was definitely better, especially the newest one. I got to try it out at a friend's house, and I mean, that's a pretty good UFC game. It's definitely the best one as far as UFC video games go. There was like the UFC games that they had back in like the Dreamcast, and I think they might have had one for the PS2 also, and the 360, or not 360, the original Xbox, and those weren't very good. But hell, I'd say those were better than the EA Sports one was. So yeah, first of all, EA has a bad track record with UFC games and, well, fighting games in general. The only successful fighting game that they ever had was the Fight Night series, which, I mean, I guess it's a good base to go off of. I mean, that will at least help with the, I guess, the striking part of the thing, but I know EA is just unproven in that field despite being big into sports. They've done wrestling games before. Those sucked. They've done fighting games before. Those sucked. They have absolutely no solid ground on this. While THQ, on the other hand, is the only game publisher that's ever put out a good wrestling game. I mean, like one that's actually good. I dare you to name even one other one that said it was good. If you do, and it's not like a shitty game like WWF Warzone for the Nintendo 64 or the Fire Pro games. I know people are like, oh, Fire Pro fans be like, oh, those are good. No, they're not. They're shit. Okay, I played the ones on the Super Nintendo via ROMs. I've played the Game Boy Advance one. I actually bought that one. And I played the one on the PS2. They all suck. I mean, you get a lot of customization options, but the gameplay sucks. The graphics suck. They're just shitty, But hell, I think at this point I'd rather have one of that developer, Spike or whatever, some obscure Japanese developer, take care of the UFC franchise and EA at this point. Also, it just goes to show that Dana White is just like a huge douchebag. Like, he's like the biggest douchebag in all of UFC. You ever notice that? Like, his brain is just filled with steroids, and he has all these high requirements for the fighters, which are a bunch of bullshit, and yet he's like this freaking steroid junkie, I mean, and he said several things like, oh, this like you talk about a competing fighting service, oh, they suck, blah, 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 like Strikeforce, and then he ends up buying them out, and like, oh, Strikeforce is awesome, because he's a retarded douchebag. That's a hypocrite. And then, of course, now he's doing the same thing with EA, he was talking about how EA sucks, and if any of UFC fighters sign up with EA's game, he's going to ban them from UFC and all this shit, and then, of course, he turns around and sides with EA, says they're awesome, blah, 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 I mean, we all know what it's about money. But, I mean, sometimes you gotta have, like, something that's good for your brand, too. And the THQ UFC games, they put out a good game. It was a strong, positive building for their brand, and they want to throw it away because EA Sports writes a bigger check. I guess. I don't know if that's even true. If EA Sports did pay more, I imagine they probably did. Otherwise, they probably would have stuck with. Well, I don't know. THQ's been in dire straits. At least they probably couldn't really afford to keep doing the UFC games. But I don't know. It's been pretty popular lately, and part of the reason why the games haven't sold as good as they could have is not due to quality. You can look on Metacritic. The first and the third game are all in the high 80s, which is pretty good. Most sports games do okay on Metacritic, but high 80s is usually a good mark to hit. And not just that, of course, but so they've had a strong brand. They are known to make a strong brand with the WWE games. They've been doing those for like 10 years or so now, like more than that even. And there haven't been any ones that are reviewed real bad. I think the lowest ones might have been like about 75 on Metacritic. And that's mainly because they probably didn't add much from the game before or whatever. But, of course, the critics are hypocrites. They give Madden's high 80s all the time. The Madden franchise sucks, so, I haven't played a Madden game that's as good as NFL 2K5. And that was 7 years ago now, I think. 8 years ago, technically, because 2K5 means we released in 2004. So, yeah. But, people are stupid, and they'll buy the game. Plus, even if they weren't stupid, if they really had brains to determine what's a good game and what's not, if they want to play football, they have no choice but to go Madden because the NFL is a bunch of dicks, too. It's all about the dollar, basically, is what my point is here. It doesn't matter if it's a company that's solid, that delivers good products, that builds your brand. If they don't write as big of a check, they don't give a shit, So I hope EA is happy. I know I'm not going to buy any UFC games unless they manage to actually put out a really good one, but like I said, based on their track record and the way they handle development, I just don't see it. So that guy's down Phoenix out.